And it's really the way of torture. I mean, to sink, like 20 perverts to the target and broadcast brainwave frequencies onto the target that are, detrimental, where the target is always bombarded with images and thoughts and things that don't come from them. And you can clearly identify it. You can clearly see it. When they've got you on the auditory effect, they got voice to skull and they're just blasting you, with all sorts of images and all sorts of verbalization to go along with the images. And, you're hearing them like a radio, basically like a radio. That's how clear the EMF broadcast is, with the carrier wave carrying data to the brain and the brain sending back data. And, I don't even care about the medium that they use to transmit those signals. I know that with the patents and with the multiple layers of these technologies working together, that it is dangerous. It is achievable. It is what all the military contractor companies sit there and have meetings about. It's like the only thing they do. So you know what I'm saying? There's tons of investment. There's manuals and military guides and all sorts of things talking about directed energy weapons. So people that say these weapons don't exist and these people are schizophrenic, they're mentally ill, they're just making it up, like people like us, people that are victims of this kind of abuse and torture as they take our lives away, as they rob us of any kind of choice. That's what they do. They collapse and control your resources and your friendships and your job and your money. And then they just hold you there and starve you to death. They just hold you there under that mess. And each adjustment you try to make to get away from that mess, you're cornered in with another crisis. And that's the hyper game theory. Each time you maneuver out of their collapse and control and destruction game, they're playing with you. They make sure that they're 10 steps ahead and that you can't get away by collapsing each move you would make, each possibility that arises from their crisis that they create in your life. And they game that. They game your response. And they know what you're going to do. They know the 10 things you're going to do. Let's say there's 10 out of 10. They know the 10 things you're going to choose to do. If one collapses, they maneuver you into another option. And then when that collapses, then you have to adjust again and move into that next option that you've created for yourself or that God has provided for you, basically. And that's what I'm saying about God, where there's this endless supply that's inexhaustible that they can't come against. And that is just what I mean about God's deliverance that's supernatural. And they just scratch their heads and we had this guy down 1,000,000 times and we were torturing him to death and he still gets back up and still keeps fighting. It's what's going on with this guy? Pretty soon they're just leave guys like me alone. Pretty soon, who knows? Because basically the rulers and the people that are responsible for this technology and implementing it into society, those people know, they know, the general public won't even believe you. And this has been my experience. The general public and even your own family members and brothers and sisters won't believe you. Your relatives, your cousins, they won't believe you. When you come to them and say, I'm getting electrocuted in my house. It's feeling like electrocution. It's feeling like electricity zapping different specific parts of my body. And my skin is burning and my hands and the palms of my hands and the bottoms of my feet are burning at night so that I can't sleep ever. It's sleep deprivation, dog training, torture is what I'm talking about going through here. And it never ending. You understand what I'm saying? It's like the people that are real targets are so strong. You can't even compare to it. And we are pushed to the next level. We are forced to have to be something more than what we are. You know what I mean? We have to find that power that's greater, and we are forced to it. We are forced to it. We don't get a choice as they try to eliminate us in this covert and malignant hidden and secret way, where they hide the tactics and the death by 1,000 cuts. They hide it in their plausible deniability in all that they do. In all that they do, they've made provision so that it can be denied. Do you understand? That's the tactics that they use when they abuse us. All those tactics are deniable, but they are the frequency and the rate by which the occurrence happens. That alone shows me that it's crafted by some sycophantic psychologist, psychiatrist, evil scientist, you know what I mean? That's basically an evil genius in how they understand human nature, how they understand, that if you destroy somebody's property again and again and again, you can control them and spend up their money and spend up their resources, creating this artificial scarcity, this artificial crisis that wouldn't have happened if these people weren't in your life, and your money and your time and your energy and your everything goes to just surviving them. I'm talking about your everything goes to just surviving them. And, the broadcast is over our brains. And, I was talking in the beginning of this just how, they just literally sync you. That's why they're mimicking you. That's why they're mirroring you. That's why they're copying you. That's why, because they're hive-minded and they're trying to co-opt you into that. That's what they're trying to do by the torture. And they want you to merge with the mob that is controlled by technology, that is run by technology. And it is a mob because the rulers use these people as an army together. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is a real army of citizens in regular clothes, and they have been hijacked. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm just trying to break it down to you. The coordination, the organization. And it's literally like many of us complain about how, every time we back out of a car spot, a red car just pulls, we can look 100 times. Like we can look 100 times. I look back. And then the time that I decide to go, that's quantum warfare. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like where there's no car back there. And then all of a sudden when you go, the red car pulls behind you and blocks you and makes you slam on the brakes, so that every time it happens hundreds and hundreds of times. Every time you park, you're going to start your car, you're going to back out, and a red car is going to be behind you. And you can look 100 times, and then right when you start to move, they're going to be behind you. And that's literally what I go through, where reality itself is broken. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like the way time, the way circumstances are, used to be linear, like our linear experience, the past, the present, the future. Now it seems like it's all happening at once. I don't know what it is. It seems broken. And it seems to be on repeat. And I just feel that everything is so scripted. People are so fake. And they surround me. I probably feel like that because they surround me with hijacked people. Because they know I'm an influence. They know that I have what it takes. And that is a danger to them. When they have somebody that's believable, somebody that has had the experience and has been smart enough to be able to verbalize and talk about what they're doing and battle that way rather than react bad. That's what I'm saying. They don't like somebody that thinks for themselves. That's the whole warfare against our identity. It's a warfare against who we are. On that level, they don't want us to exist, and they want to co-opt all the good about us. They want to take that and use that for them, for their, their little hive-minded game that they're playing. You know what I mean? Because they're, copying each other's brainwaves and synced up on this broadcast system, the internet of bodies, the internet of behaviors. It's all there in those career choices, I guess you could say, for people. But we're just building our own slavery, and the rulers need the mob, and they have a technological mob where they hijack and control human beings. And I've watched it. I've watched the coordination, the organization, the directed speech. It's like they use the mob around the target to communicate. We see what you're doing. We know what you're doing. It's like it's too coordinated. Nobody could be trained like really in these tactics of synchronicity and abuse and control. They just surround the target and abuse and abuse and abuse and abuse, and they all agree together. And they're all just playing both sides of the fence. Because when they, cross your path 100 times a day and are smiling in your face and nice to you, that's great and all, but you know what? You're actually an informant and you're working for the police and you're working for all these other corrupt institutions and you're, singling me out and letting me know in my own neighborhood that, I have no freedom. That's what it tells me when 10 out of 10 people come up to me and spit in front of me when I'm walking. You know what I mean? And give me a disgusted look. That's what they do. They're immature. And the people that run these people are immature. They're like children psychologically, literally. Spoiled, entitled, wicked people that just have no regard for human life. And they're like, because life is so hard and I don't feel good about myself, I'm just gonna abuse as many people as I can to come along with me. And especially those people that contradict me, that make me look evil, that make me look like a liar, like I am. You know what I mean? That's what they are. They're complete scumbags. They're complete trash. And they're destroying all human life, basically, using this technology. And, they made me watch my dad die. They made me watch him die. They tortured my dad because he decided one day to be of assistance to me, just like one time. You know what I mean? Just like literally they tortured my loved ones for supporting me. And it was just my dad, and they knew I loved my dad, but I never really saw my dad. And, we had a hard time growing up, and I just went away when I was young and just started living life at a very young age, and pretty young, and, but we had a lot of battles and a lot of stuff because my mom was a hyper manipulator and would always throw me under the bus to get his attention on her and not on me. And it would be this competition game. But I'm just saying that's, so I didn't have a great family life growing up. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of abuse done to me. But it's like these people have studied my past and studied my life and then present these artificial circumstances for me to be triggered once and again. And it's always customized to the pain that I've gone through. It's always customized to the injuries that I've suffered and piggybacking off those and making those grow and watching these people take actions to do that only. Where they let you know it's intentional. We're trying to eliminate you. We're trying to destroy you. And it's not just people saying that. It's a long game. They kill you, but not all at once. They kill you over time, over this constant, pulling the rug out from under you, making you have to rush to try to get circumstances in place that would allow you to survive. And see, that's what the 2 steps forward, 2 steps back merry-go-round dance I'm talking about that they do to me. Each, and they do it to you. They do it to you. I've heard many targets, talk about the level of their torture and what they go through every day. And, they torture people with, in the broadcast, in the hive mind, as they're trying to impose their will on you, the group. And they'll literally torture you in your house with wave patterns of thoughts of the people they got synced up and cloned to you, basically, that are connected to you. Because, we know they're connected to us because every single person around us starts doing directed speech. Every single person around us, all we experience is people telling us what we do in private and what we say in private. And that's the only experience. We just got people around us only telling us what we do in private and communicating through items placed, communicating through just different avenues of communication that are obvious communication. And it says one thing. It says, we're watching you and there's nothing you can do about it. We know all that you're doing in private. We know all that you're saying and all that you're thinking even in private. And we are showing you that we have control of everyone around you. And they're never going to get free from it. And they taunt me all the time. And they make me watch my loved one who, even though I disagreed with him, my father, even though I didn't, agree with his way of living and thinking because he was a narcissist, an external narcissist and very immature emotionally, even and I'm just saying that because that's the facts. Always trying to redirect the conversation back on him. You know what I'm talking about. And it's just that I grew past that. I at a very young age, and even if it offended him, the narcissist will just cut you off. It's like if you don't go along with, praising them as your only role in life, it's like then they're like, hey, this guy's useless. He's no good. He can't give me fuel. He can't, be less than me and hurt himself for me so that I can be superior. You know what I mean? And be the one that and the only person that's getting all the attention. You know what I mean? That's how immature it is. But many of our perps are like this. They're very immature. They're very desperate. And all they can do is basically live stream our torture and bet on us. And literally, it's like the Hunger Games. It's just like, it's they watch our torture and get off on it and like it. And they torture us and zap our bodies and harm us and hurt us. And it's a big game. And we are the game that they're playing. You know what I mean? Our lives get offered up. And the only thing that we can do is fight to try to survive. And listen, I hear people brag all the time. Oh, I've overcome this. I've gotten through this, and it doesn't happen anymore. Well, you never were a target. That's just the bottom line, man. What I'm talking about is a guaranteed kill grid. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you can't escape it. It's over all of us. And when they select you, you will know about it. When they decide, this guy, we're going to go after him, and the mob is directed at you, and every time you leave your house, your neighbor leaves your house. Every time you go to the garbage, the neighbor goes to the garbage. The same one. Every time you go wash your car, the neighbor goes and washes his car. And they just keep showing up and smirking at you and taking pictures of you and, smirking at you, doing weird misplaced behavior to you to try to get your attention, dancing in front of your car if they have to. It's all been done to me, like dancing in front of the car over and over and over to try to get my attention on them. Because I was like, just cutting them off. I was like, you can go ahead and dance in front of my car all you want. I'm not going to react to you. You don't exist to me. You don't exist. That's the way I treated them. Like they don't exist because I knew what they wanted right away. It was pretty obvious. When all of a sudden one day you're living a normal life and then everyone around you gets turned against you. And I thought, how strange. These were my good friends. This was my family. How could they not remember who I am? How can they not know who I am? How can they relate to me this way and give up so much of their own soul, their own family, their own blood, their own line? How could a parent act against nature? You know what I'm saying? To try to destroy their child just to be something, just to be special. That's what we're dealing with, a dangerous insecurity in these people, that they'll trade anything and everything just to have temporary success, just to have temporary gain and profit and position. They will trade anything for it. And they do not care about how to get there. And that is why they step on us and collapse and control us. And they're in competition with us as well. Like this hive mind that's synced to us, that they use to torture us with other people's brainwaves being broadcast at us, to torture us with images, to torture us with, so that all day long you can't get away from the vile images that are going through your head. And it's not you. And it's just, bottom line, you're under attack and there's a pattern to it. It's the symptoms to it. You know what I mean? Because of how much they've done it, many people have, really known what they're up against. We've heard many people come out and say, I'm being tortured. You think all those people are just making it up? I'm being tortured. I'm being zapped in my house. I'm being burnt on my skin. There's pins and needles on my chest. They're burning my organs. That's what they've done to me. They've poisoned me and, put people around me that were my friends. Hey, can you get me a glass of water? And then you didn't know this was going on, and they're poisoning the water so you end up in the hospital the next day and nobody gets in trouble. And you're just like, what's going on here? Like, what's going on? Was I just poisoned? Did they just drug me? Like, it becomes like that. It becomes like that I don't know if they put something on your door handles or on your car handles or whatever it might be, but man, you start getting sick, and it's probably the radiation poisoning. It's probably the radiation poisoning. I used to use a meter and put it up to my head, and it would just be off the charts on the back of my head, you know. And this is minus all the other technologies that they use to triangulate us and our location and find us wherever we are, even without our phone. You know, it's way deeper than you can even imagine. It's way deeper than you can even, and most people won't get their minds around how far advanced the technology is in the wireless broadcast system that they're using to control all of us. And literally, I remember the first time this happened, I was downtown Seattle, and it's just like, you know, I was just walking downtown Seattle, and next thing you know, it's like everybody was moving the same, acting the same, like robots, like literally. And I was just like, what's going on here, man? And I had to like rub my eyes because they all turn and look at me at the same time. And it's just like, what's going on here, man? Is this like demon possession or what? I have no idea. But the first time that I started experiencing this broadcast system over whole cities, you know, and I started watching what they were, you know, they were knowing that I knew what was up and what was going on intuitively. And they saw that gift in me, and then they started to let me know that they know I know. You know what I mean? And that's what started happening. And, you know, groups of people, hive minds, sync to you, coming and going at the same time as you. All of them paired up to you in these specific ways, whether you move from place to place to place. It doesn't matter. Your neighbors move out, new neighbors move in. They're looking like weirdos. They're coming and going at the same time as you, no matter what time of the day you come and go. And they interrupt and interfere with you going to the mail. They interrupt and interfere with you going to the garbage. They interrupt and cross your path and get in your way when you're trying to go to the garbage, when you're trying to just go wash your car or go take a walk. And they want to get in your way, block you, stop you, slow you down. And it is all coordinated by a frequency broadcast, which is, in my opinion, under all the military, you know, documents that are military contractors that talk about the investors and who's involved and, you know, what branches of the government are involved in it. It's like anybody can go look at these manuals. Anybody can go look at, but did you think my family would go look at that? Do you think they cared enough to just like go look at that and check that out and be like, hey man, you know, what we're doing is killing our son. For what? For what? What gain? What profit? So you can get the short end of the stick and be a good, happy, secure slave? Because that's what you're fighting for. You're fighting for your own slavery. That's what you're fighting for. And you're establishing your own slavery and the slavery of your future generations. That's what you're doing. You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace. And I am sworn against you inside. Like, because just what you do is, you know, soulless. You know what I mean? The controllers of these third parties that they use as weapons against us, those people have willingly gone along with it. They want to be controlled by this technology. They want to be controlled by a third party and a higher authority running their minds, because that's how much they worship. They worship, you know, the state. And it's like, you know, don't think for yourselves. You're not capable. You're just little children. Let the big daddy government think for you. That's really what we're dealing with on that level. They want to gain control of what makes you you and digitize it and then broadcast it onto others. You know, others get your talents. Others get your ideas, your beliefs. And they are trading in us digitally and literally trading and trafficking this way, because they steal what belongs to you and take what is yours and what is authentically you, and they copy it and digitize it and send it in a broadcast to other people's brains and bodies and nervous systems. And it's like a hijacking. They can take any enemy around you, and that person could love you the most and be your greatest fan. And they will take that person and hijack that person with, you know, enemy brainwaves that they've copied with the people that have gone along with injuring you and harming you and enjoying it and liking it, that kind of psychology. And they broadcast that on the person around you. This is like frequency-based warfare. And they are They are broadcasting and using the mob under its total control, under technology's total control. It's a hijacking of the brain waves. It's a hijacking of the neurological system. It's a hijacking of the electrical signals of the body. It's a hijacking of each, a resonant frequency of each organ. And it is total domination over the human being. And it is not moral even, because of the facts that, I think people probably pay for, hey, I want that guy's talents. I want his identity for a while. And and then they're able to copy and do the brain mapping program and everything else and copy your brainwave signature and copy your EEG and know every organ and know what your brain activity is. And then they're able to just steal that and broadcast it onto others who pay for it, maybe even. I don't know. But it seems like that would be the way this goes, because we've seen the mob being used in a coordinated, organized way, so coordinated and so in sync and so one that you'd think everybody around you is like a military commando with their timing and with everything else. And it's like, maybe that's what they're broadcasting on the people around us. Who knows? Many of you that are real targets know what I'm talking about. You can't even breathe. You can't even breathe. It's one crisis after the next, and all you can do is hold on to God. That's all I can do. I mean, hey, dude, you might not be like me, but all I'm saying is it just makes me cling to God. And it makes me just, want to call out in such heartfelt ways with many tears and just keep saying, I love you, God. I'm walking through this. I don't give a dang what I have or don't have in life, because all I have is you. And I just want to be with you forever. I don't care what happens. I just want to lose my life the right way to him. In other words, if I'm going to lose my life like they're doing to me in this slow kill game, at least I'm going to lose my life thanking him and praising him and loving him, not because the circumstances say to love him and not because I have any hope externally, but literally just because I see him for who he is in my life. At least he's revealed that. He's shown that to me. He's shown me his presence in so many things. And it is like, it's not an excuse for why these things are happening. I'm just saying, I don't sit there and just think because I'm a good Christian or something like that I'm being persecuted just for that. But they have a lot of programs in which they, target you as a religious extremist. They're considering Christianity and they classify it and label it, and, they selectively enforce the law against you. And in many churchgoers don't even know that. But the 501c3 corporate church is hijacked and taken over by the federal government. It's completely a blending of church and state, and it's not good. It's not good. And we've seen the church used as a mob, to get political agendas done. Like, get the shot. Jesus wants you to get the shot. And it's like, nah, but the dumbed down population that's hijacked by these signals, they just go along with everything and anything. And we've lost all our friends, all our family. We've lost it a long time ago. We watched that starry-eyed look and that trance that they go into, and that where something else takes over. You look in their eyes, in the eyes of your loved ones, and there's nobody there, man. There's nobody home. There's nobody home. That person that you knew is no longer there. That's what I've had to acknowledge going through this pain, guys. That's what I had to acknowledge going through this suffering of breaking every attachment to the things that I love. Every single attachment, man, that I've ever had has been destroyed, ruined, and broken and sacrificed on the altar of these people and this mob and this machine that's literally, it's biological and it is mechanical. It is like a blending of humanity with technology, and it is really transhumanist because they promise these perps like you can be anybody you want. We're selling this person and that person and this person, and they're digitized and they're a clone, and you can receive all that they are in a broadcast. We've copied it all and we can transmit it to you, and basically that's the game. I mean, I'm just saying, that's what I've come to the conclusion of. I mean, we've got a lot of people leaking from a lot of, technology companies that worked on the technology and everything else. It's not just me saying this. People have been tortured in America. They even legalized torture, and nobody understands what that's all about. I mean, they can literally, we're legalizing torture in public, and a documented historical record and laws that even get passed. And nobody even says a word. Nobody even says a word because everybody is hijacked. Because it's not good for Americans that it legalizes the torture of American citizens. But you never paid attention to that. Anytime I brought it up, my enemies would just laugh and chuckle and think it's cute and funny. And I'm like, mock me, laugh at me, roll their eyes at me, shake their head at me, yell at me, scold me, talk to me like I'm a child, when it's just like, you're fools professing yourself to be wise. That's all you are. You're fools professing yourselves to be wise. You think you're so wise, but you're really a fool. And you don't really know that. I've had a lot of battles, and I've fought to survive a high level of nonstop collapse control. Here's a mess. And a lot of breakdown, a lot of people abandoning me, a lot of loved ones treating me in a way that where I wouldn't even recognize who they are. And they're all coordinated together and organized and let you know it. That you're out of the loop, you've been selected and you're not part of the bigger picture. It's like they decide, your loved ones, we're going to eliminate you, but they don't even know what they're doing because they're completely hijacked and they got somebody else in them, somebody else moving through them, some other energy. And I can detect it like that. I can detect it just intuitively walking in the Holy Spirit like that. And it's always proven to be right. And at least for me, I'm guided by the Lord Jesus. That's what I'm guided by. I love him. I trust him. I believe in him. I have seen him do so much. And I just can't deny it. And experience isn't enough for me to convince you. I mean, I can't convince you with my experience. But I love him because he is so powerful. And he is the king. He is the king. He rules and reigns inside of me. And that is what he's shown me and how he's brought me to himself time and again by the outward circumstances breaking down and by the collapse and control game that they think they're just persecuting a mere man. And they don't realize that, I'm a sword in the hands of my God. And I'm just being sharpened. I'm just being sharpened. And I, in other words, have learned to live outside of my ego. Outside of the arrogance, outside of thinking that I've arrived, outside of, not being teachable and all those things. That's why I'm speaking the way I'm speaking, because I think it's important to understand, to keep our hearts teachable, to keep our hearts soft, and not all hardened by all this wickedness and evil and coldness and callousness and lack of regard and care. And they don't want to acknowledge we exist. And they've been hijacked and agreed together to be like this, towards us. And now there's nobody home. It's been too late, too much. You've gotten too many shots. You know what I mean? You've gotten too many shots, probably. I don't know what it is. But I remember when my family did this, it was like, dude, there's something real dark here. You get around your family and you didn't take that thing, and you start just feeling like, wow, there's something real dark that just happened. And you just know it intuitively. And then next thing you know, your family is acting hyper aggressive and hyper strange. And you're watching all of your family be hijacked by this technology and disappear right in front of you. They're already, just gone inside. And you're just watching something artificial, something scripted take over. And mimic and mirror the person even, but let you know along the way that person is no longer there, that this is just artificial. This is just fake. What you know to be your family isn't your family anymore. What you know to be your friends isn't your friend anymore. What you know to be your boss or, your coworkers, they're not those people anymore that you think you know. And it happens subtly around you when you're just walking, in friendship with somebody, and next thing you know, they hate you for no reason and want to, aggressively collapse and destroy and go after you, and are obsessed with you, and are acting, like angry with you. And you're like, what's going on here? Why the heck are you guys treating me this way? We're not treating you like anything. We don't know what you're talking about. As they do the abuse. Like literally it's so offensive as they're abusing us. They're like, we didn't do it. We didn't say it. We didn't do it. And you're just like, dude, you're seriously that blinded to yourself. And it's like dangerous. You're on mind control. You're on mind control. That's why you behave like that. That's why you act like that. It's the bottom line. I've watched this for so many years, just watching friend after friend lose their life to this technology and not even know it. And they just become participants in the mob and in the and being the harassers and being the ones that are co-opted by a bigger power. And there's somebody that runs and owns the broadcast. And, just because they've copied everybody's brainwaves and like can sell that to you, like it doesn't really mean success. You're going to get the short end of the stick because this is hyper control, and they're promising you freedom while they hyper control you and hyper control everything else. Like that's how stupid you are. You just believe they're promising you all these things, but really they're the ones in control of the technology and running it and organizing all of this and investing in all of this. And so it's a business, and we're being used against our will as the commodity. We are traded. And if somebody needs your specific talent and your specific brainwave pattern and your specific emotional pattern and state to have success, then it's just hijacked from you and broadcast in this EMF wave, in a carrier wave directly to the brain and body of whoever the biggest payer is. I think it's like that. I think there's a lot of hijacking of identities in order to gain success and money and fame and fortune and power and position. I think these people are delusional. I don't want any of it. And the greatest thing in this world doesn't compare to what I've discovered and just this, sweet life that I find in abandoning all my attachments and trusting that if I let go of that there's so much of God that I can get a hold of. And that's why I do that. Because that's the only reason it's encouraging to me, because it's caused my spiritual growth. It's caused me to mature. It's caused me to take life serious and to pay attention. And all they've done is woken me up. That's all they've ever been able to do. They exhaust me. They torture my body. Like the other night, I'm going to end with just saying that the other night, because I've been putting out videos and stuff, and I think a lot of other reasons, because of my attitude, because I don't let them control me, you know what I mean? I don't let it control me. And I find life, inside of the torture that's being done to me. But at the same time, it's like you have to go to the next level mentally and emotionally. And, I was just going to say that, like the other night, they started torturing my body, and like for 12 hours straight, all through the night, like my muscles were twitching. It was almost like a virus got on me and started to just twitch my muscles and short circuit me. You know what I mean? My muscles were like involuntary contractions. Like all my muscles throughout my whole body were just like spazzing out, involuntary contractions and like jerking and, like just your muscles jerking and clenching and then releasing. And it was horrible. And I thought, this is like brain damaged me. I'm never going to be the same. I was just thinking that the other night. It's like it took me a whole day the next day to feel like, like to come back to myself and be like, what just happened, man? What was that? You know what I mean? And literally it's just like, they attack me and punish me severely, and they try to kill me, many times with the technology. They just try to burn me up and fry me up and burn me. And they don't really have mercy. They don't stop. They don't take a break. It's like on a shift 24/7. And they just, are like, we're going to teach him a lesson for, standing in his message. We're going to teach him a lesson. They let me know that, and then they just, zap me like that with a EMF broadcast. and with microwave pulse energy and all kinds of other damaging stuff, just damaging equipment. And, you're just left like for 12 hours just twitching and they're trying to kill or trying to take you to the edge, and then they let off, just enough so that you live, but you are scarred for the rest of your life. That's kind of what they like to do to me, so that you have to live with the pain of what they've done. You know what I mean? And it's really disgusting what we have to go through, guys. And I just wanted to say that I'm never going to stop talking as long as I have life in my body about what they've done and about my family and about what I've seen and about my relationships and about the people in my past and the people present and the people in the future. And, I watched so much destruction, and they showed me right into my face, with this technology and with hijacking human beings in front of me, and knowing that nobody's ever going to believe it. You know what I mean? Knowing full well that if I tell people, I'm just going to look like the crazy one. But literally watching an army form in front of me with tactics and abilities that only the military could probably do. And even they would fall short of the coordination, the organization, the timing. It is something else, much bigger, controlling these people and then letting you know through the group of gang stalkers, they let you know, we see what you're doing here. We see what you're doing there. We see what you're doing here. And they let you know. They all let you know that what you're doing in the privacy of your own house when nobody else is there and you're the only one with the key. You go on a walk, you come back, your couch is on the other side of the house. And you're wondering, how did somebody get in my house? And why is my couch on the other side of the room? They know if you complain about it, you'll look like crazy. That's why they get you, they walk you to the edge and then get you to try to hurt yourself that way. That's what they want. They want you to just, call the police department and be like, somebody's been in my house. And they're going to be like, well, is there any forced entry? Any signs of people getting in? Well, how could somebody get in your house then if there's no forced entry and you're the only one that has the key? Somebody else must have the key. And that's what they'll say. And they'll just write it off and say you're crazy and mentally ill. And then they have a wellness check on you. You know what I'm saying? If you complain to the cops, they get involved to target you. That's what they do. And are used heavily in my life and in this program. And they're used heavily with other people. But I mean, it's when you get to the point where it's there's really no point to this life if this is how life is, and you've got to battle with yourself and wrestle with yourself and be I love God. I love life. I choose life no matter what they do to me. I don't care. I'm just going to keep enjoying life and keep striving to be better and keep being me. In other words, I'm not going to let them change me through all of this. And, like I said before, they just say, go ahead and let him speak because nobody's going to believe him anyways. That's how confident they are with the mob and this technological dictatorship and mob rule where they punish you with groups and groups of people if you disagree. Even if you disagree, it has nothing to do with you breaking the law. They will torture you if you disagree, or if they, and they show you, we know all your thinking, all your privacy. We know everything about what you're verbalizing, and we're going to let you know it every single day, all day long. We're going to surround you with people that tell you what you're doing in private. And I don't know how to explain it or break it down any other way, but I love you guys. God bless you guys. Peace out.